If you're looking for a way to save hours of time every week, slash your business expenses while improving the quality of your outputs, you've come to the right place. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to use ChatGPT with Google Sheets using Zapier to automate important tasks in your business, including social media captions and hooks, customer support responses, review analysis, Google Sheets data cleanup and formatting, automated summaries, and so much more. The best part is you don't need to know a single line of code to set this up. This combination is a game changer for your business. And I'll walk you through the simple step-by-step process to save you tremendous time, boost your profits, and ultimately allow you to only focus on what you truly enjoy by automating the rest. I hope you're excited. Now let's get to it. All right, so first things first is you want to properly set up and format your Google spreadsheet. And again, you can access Google Sheets for free, and I actually prefer Google Sheets over Excel because of its online functionality and integration with a lot of different tools, including Zapier and ChatGPT. It's very easy to use. This is the example that we're going to be using for the remainder of the video. And along the way, I'm going to show you different ways to kind of branch out from this base example because there's literally infinite ideas, infinite tasks that can be automated, but I want to really hone in and show you step-by-step everything instead of just telling you about the possibilities. So for this specific example, it's a bit unique, but very, very powerful. It's helped me make literally thousands of dollars. And that is basically we have drone stock footage. So these are drone shots that we get from different countries around the world that we've traveled to over like 45 countries, beautiful cities, landscapes. We take this drone footage and we can actually make money on this drone footage by uploading it to stock footage sites. So people who are searching for this footage to use in advertisements or for YouTube or for different endeavors can find our footage, purchase it, and then we keep a percentage of the sale. Great business opportunity, but it takes a lot of time because for someone to see our footage, it needs to be properly keyword optimized. We need a title, a description, a file name, keywords, and all of that, which used to take our team hours and hours, like dozens of hours, and now literally takes minutes using Google Sheets, ChatGPT, and Zapier. And again, like I said, the possibilities here are endless, but here's the basics, okay? So our video editor goes over here to column A, and he inputs a general description of the video. So we upload all the footage to him in Google Drive, he downloads, starts editing, and for each clip, he just enters the first things that come into his head, just a string of text that generally describe the footage. It's done quickly, it's just the things that are on the top of his head, and it's not in the proper order, it doesn't necessarily use the best keywords, it's just like this big, bland kind of thing. And then what we do is he inputs it here into column A and creates a new row for each different new footage. And then from column A, we connect Google Sheets with ChatGPT to where ChatGPT basically looks at the new row in column A, filters in ChatGPT, which I'm about to show you, and then spits out an optimized file name. Same thing for title, takes the video description, puts it into ChatGPT with specific instructions. Again, set up once and it's all automated, and then spits out a well-optimized title, same thing with the description and keywords. And what's amazing about this, I just want to kind of show you this one row. I mean, first of all, literally ChatGPT has done hundreds of stock footage kind of optimization and literally saves us hours and hours of time and can actually do a better job than we could on our own or someone that I hired. And that's the real key here. And it's really, really powerful. Okay, so that's the idea. You input something and then ChatGPT can take that data that you inputted and then give you new data, expand on that, format it, many different things. It can do it with multiple rows or columns, but this is kind of a really solid basic example. You have an input, that input automatically goes to ChatGPT and gives you one or more outputs, okay? So basically, for this input, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 separate outputs, file name, title, description, and keywords. Those are 4 separate outputs. So what that means is we're gonna have 4 different Zaps in Zapier. Now, before we really dive into Zapier, which is where we're gonna spend most of our time, we need to set up everything correctly. So know your business goal. You can even ask ChatGPT, hey, here's my goal. How can I use Zapier, Google Sheets, and ChatGPT to accomplish this goal as efficiently and with as little mistakes or headache as possible? And ChatGPT is going to be super helpful on the front end. So set up your Google Sheet depending on your business goals. In this case, it's super simple. It's literally just a header in row 1. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 columns. And all we do is we update this. So like I could update this and enter in new text, but I don't want to mess with the process. update new text here into column A, and then ChatGPT is automatically going to spit out file name, title, description, and keywords here, right? That's my goal. So I set it up to accomplish that goal. And if you're not really sure, ChatGPT is your best resource. It's really that simple. So that's step one. Step two, before we get into Zapier, is we need to actually set up a ChatGPT AI assistant. So if you have set up custom GPTs before, if you're familiar with that, it is the nearly exact same process. And if you haven't, no worries, because we're going to cover everything step by step. So what you're going to do is you're not going to go to chatgpt.com. You're going to go to platform.openai.com/playground. So this is kind of the back end of your account. Now, if you don't have a ChatGPT account, sign up for that. So you'll sign up for a Zapier account, a ChatGPT account, and a Google Sheets account. Of course, again, we'll cover everything later. So we have our Google account. Great. We've set up the spreadsheet. Now we sign up for our free ChatGPT account. Now, with that being said, this could change in the near future, and I hope it does. But currently, you do need the ChatGPT Plus paid plan to kind of use this specific functionality. Now, there's still functionality you can do with Zapier and ChatGPT for free, but for this level of advanced automation, it does require a paid account, unfortunately, right? I wish it wasn't, but that's kind of a note, and things can change in the future, and there's other options as well, but I just want to show you the best first. So what you're going to do is once you're here in Playground, right here, you're going to click on the Assistants tab, which you see here. Now, obviously, when you click up here, you can see all of the assistants I've created for this account, keyword optimizer, description, title, and file name. So when you're creating it for the first time, just scroll down here and click on Create Assistant. You're going to enter a name. So whatever is best for you to organize, because you'll likely have a lot of assistants in the future. So whatever's best for you to keep things organized, that's where you're going to name it here. And I'm going to show you real examples. System instructions. So just here, you don't need to go overboard and do all this prompt engineering. Keep it fairly simple because your instructions for this GPT are going to be in Zapier. So you're not going to actually write the instructions here in ChatGPT. It's going to be in Zapier, and Zapier is going to feed it to your AI assistant. And you don't want to duplicate because it creates errors where there's basically too much data being transferred and can short circuit the system. If that's complicated, don't worry. Keep system instructions very simple. For model, as of right now, the making of this video, ChatGPT is always updating, but we're going to use GPT 4.0. Now, again, if you start running into errors where there's a lot of data errors of too much data, too many tokens being processed, something along those lines, you'll want to use something like mini or turbo, something light, which generally I find the outputs aren't as good. But if you're having data issues where you're just trying to take a ton of data from Google Sheets and put it into ChatGPT with a ton of instructions and putting it back out with this massive, at least again, as of right now, this massive output, that can create some problems. In case that happens, then use the mini. If not, stick with 4.0 for now. Again, whatever the most up-to-date model is, that's what you want to use to keep this video evergreen. Next, what we're going to do is file search and code interpreter. If you want this to analyze data in the form of a CSV file or Google Sheets or cross-reference data, hey, if this data in this Google Sheet matches any data in this file, then XYZ, right? If you want something like that or any kind of analysis of a CSV file or Excel file, use Code Interpreter. Otherwise, you can always leave it on if you would like, and you can upload specific CSV files here. Also, if you want this assistant to search for certain files, for example, follow these guidelines. Maybe you upload an entire PDF, you can find a marketing book online, get a free PDF version of that, upload that book or that file or whatever it is. It could even be images into the file search. So you can upload the files, enable file search, and then your assistant can search things in a database and then get back to you. And again, the reason I'm focusing on a very specific example is because this can be very overwhelming. And at this point, you're probably okay, I kind of get the high level. Show me how this actually works, which we'll get to very soon. So you can upload files, you can upload specific codes. Now getting here to response format, what do you want? Do you want text, JSON, right? In most of our cases, this is going to be text for most of our purposes. I don't have as much experience with JSON, schema, or object. That'll get more into coding, which again, the whole point of this video is for no coders and beginners. So we're going to stick with text, which is going to be the most case, but you can always play around. And you can ask ChatGPT, what can I be doing, with this JSON kind of coding here? But here's a really key part. You can leave this as is for now, but taking this to the next level is you can adjust temperature and top P of your assistant. Okay, so your assistant has instructions, it has a name, it can search for you can basically create its own database that it can search for certain data to use in its outputs. Your response format, of course, which generally is going to be text, but you can also mess with these two kind of functions here. And what better way to understand ChatGPT than from ChatGPT's own words? So what is temperature? And here's a little hack, by the way. Whenever you're asking ChatGPT to explain something to you, which is a great way, I do this like almost every day, ask it to explain it to you like you're in 8th grade. And I find these explanations are amazing. So that's just a little side hack for you. And I've done that here to show you from ChatGPT's own mouth, what is temperature and what is top P, those two things. And what should we set for ours? When you're getting started, again here, temperature and top P, leave as is. They're set there for a reason, but it depends on your task. You may want to increase or decrease. So temperature is like the level of creativity. The lower the temperature that you set, the more rational your assistant is going to act. The higher, the more creative it's going to be. So are you using this process that I'm about to show you for more creative solutions? Then you want a higher temperature. If it's a bit less creative, more deterministic, you want lower. You can see kind of the full, you can pause and kind of read the entire description here, which I'll explain why it doesn't really matter in a second, but it is important, but it's ultimately doesn't matter. Okay, next is top P. So it decides what answers and output to ultimately give to you. So it looks at all the kind of the options, and it can either pick, the lower temperature is what's most likely going to be like the best answers, and again, being a bit more deterministic and giving you those, versus a higher top P is, again, better for brainstorming, for just general creative ideas, things like that, then you want higher. And both kind of go hand in hand, and you can see kind of where to choose the best settings. Now, here's what I highly recommend doing. When you are setting up your assistant, because they are important, but this is just a general overview. It really doesn't matter. What you want to do is go to ChatGPT and say, you can even use, the ChatGPT app and speak to it. That's what I prefer to use, and say, hey, I'm setting up Google Sheets, Zapier, and ChatGPT Assistant, and I want it to do XYZ. When I input a new video description of a stock video into a Google Sheet in column A, I want the ChatGPT to come up with keywords of description, that are optimized, blah, 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 blah. Based on this information, what is going to be the best temperature and top P for this assistant? And it's going to give you the answer. And again, it's going to give you a good general range. If you ask it multiple times, it'll be slightly different each time. But again, that doesn't really matter. It'll get you in the right range. And a lot of people aren't talking about that. Really important to do. So if that's a bit too advanced for you, you can just leave it as is. It'll still do a good job. But I do recommend optimizing every single step of the process, because it's a lot of upfront work that's going to save you so much time and have amazing results down the road. So really important just to do this one time. And that's the best way to do it. That's exactly what I did. And you can look at the outputs. And again, if things are really variant and really crazy and all over the place, then maybe you want to look at lowering your temperature, lowering your top P. If things are super it needs to be more creative and it seems just super almost forced and focused, then you want to increase, right? So you want to play around with it a little bit. ChatGPT itself is going to get you in a really good position to actually set it up. And that's kind of the irony here of using ChatGPT to use ChatGPT, kind of like a meta. With that being said, last thing in Playground. So we've set up our assistant, selected our temperature and our top P. You can go ahead and save the assistant here, which I'm actually going to delete because this is just for an example. So I'll go ahead and delete that. Now I'll show you a real example. So this is actually the most powerful, I think, here, and the keyword optimizer actually. But I'll just show you kind of what this looks like. So name, stock footage description creator. So I have stock footage keyword optimizer, description creator, title creator, file namer. Okay, really simple, very similar. And I bold it so I can easily know when I'm in Zapier which to connect. I can look at all my options for assistants. I'm like, okay, easily reference. It's just for you, for organization. So that's the description. Next, we have the instructions, and I'm showing you all of them. So as you can see, this is very simple. We'll get more detailed and complex in Zapier. Well, not complex, but more detailed. But this is a good general rule to kind of set, not this exact word for word, but especially kind of this top here. It's just saying, hey, listen to Zapier, and whatever Zapier says, do that. That's basically it. And you can kind of screenshot this and use this yourself, feel free. For the model, again, we're using the most updated model. In this case, for this, we're not analyzing any data, we're creating text, keywords, description, title. So it's text. I don't need code interpreter, but I have uploaded some files. And specifically what I've uploaded is I actually took this course on actually had my team member take this course on how to properly name and optimize stock footage. And they had some PDF guidelines. I took those PDF guidelines from the course, I uploaded them here and basically say in Zapier, hey, look at those files that are in your knowledge base and use that as parameters in giving your responses, right? Look at the data, use those parameters, and make sure that they follow all that formatting. Or Another great way to use this, by the way, amazing. Go to Google Docs. This is a little bit advanced, but this is gold. Go to Google Docs and create 2 different Google Docs. One, have it titled good examples, and in your second, have it titled bad examples. And for the outputs you're trying to create, have a list of great examples, whether that's, social media captions or whether that's like customer responses, things like that. And the other side have, bad examples, like maybe past examples of bad customer responses, bad social media captions or intros or hooks or descriptions or whatever it might be. And that's going to be gold in really helping ChatGPT to understand, okay, here's what's good, here's what's bad. I get what you need, boom. And that is a hack that whether you're using custom GPTs or assistants, it's going to level up your outputs. Also, if you're using this for customer outreach, what you can have is a FAQ, frequently asked questions from this could be your students, your followers, from your customers, from whoever. Upload those here and have Q&A. Most common question, here's how we respond. So instead of someone doing this new every single time, you can automatically pull, and if there's already a good response, it's going to use that response you've already used because it's in the database. And if it's new, it can look at similar, like, okay, I see how you respond. I see the language that you use. I'm going to make a similar response based on this data. Oh, it's amazing. Again, there's like 1,000 ways you can use this, so I don't want to go too into the weeds. I just want to let you kind of use your creativity. And if you're not really sure, when in doubt, you can comment on this video, or even better yet, ask ChatGPT itself. As you can see for this, I've set kind of the temperature and top P as is. I played around with this a little bit. This works best for the specific purpose of descriptions. But if I go here to keywords, right? Similar but different, we actually have different temperatures and top P. Not dramatically different, but slightly different because it depends on what we are going for. That's how we kind of set this up. Once you create, you are good to go. So we have Google Sheets spreadsheet created correctly. Awesome. Next, we have created at least one assistant. I recommend for each type of task, create a separate assistant for that. Instead of one general assistant for everything, the more segmented you get, it's a bit more work, but the results are going to be better. Because think about if you gave all of your business projects to one human being, how good would the business run? But what if you gave each one to a different expert? Every section of your business, you gave each section, let's say 5 big sections of your business, and offset it to 5 different experts, your business is going to do better than just one expert, right? So segment out and you can create unlimited assistants. Once those are created, great. The last thing with ChatGPT that we need to do, again, in Playground, is go to your settings over here, your profile. So you can see profile, go to user API keys, and you want to create a new secret key, which I can't show you because I don't want to, anyone to abuse this, but you can go to create a new secret key, title it Zapier, Zapier, and that's what you're going to use to connect OpenAI or your ChatGPT account with Zapier. So all of the hard work has been set up. Now, finally, we can go into Zapier. We have ChatGPT, we have Google Sheets, and we're going to connect the two together. So first, what you need to do is sign up for your free Zapier account. You can use the affiliate link that I've included in the description section below to sign up for a free account. So it's free up until a certain amount of uses. Then after that, once you actually start getting value and see the tool, then you start paying after that number of uses. For the longest time, I use Zapier for 100% free, which is amazing. I think it's a very fair business model. So really like that. Just keep in mind, it's free to start, which is really great. But then at some point when you really start using it, it becomes paid. And there's different tier brackets. Basically, the more zaps that you run, like the more times Zapier is running, the more that you pay. The less time that it runs, the less that you pay. It's that simple. So you will need a work email, so keep that in mind. So work email, first name, last name. Go ahead and get started for free with the link below. And once you sign up, log in. And you want to click on Explore Apps. So here in Explore Apps, you can see the most popular integrations with Zapier. And basically what Zapier is a connector. So it connects different things with each other. And you can see we can literally connect Google Sheets with Gmail, with Slack, with Google Calendar. When X happens, then Y happens. When Y happens, then Z happens. When Z happens, then A happens, right? It's infinite in what you can do. It's amazing. And if you're like me, you can have a lot of fun with this. And in this case, again, we're going to do Google Sheets and ChatGPT. So go ahead and we see Google Sheets here. Go ahead and click on that. And basically, it'll just follow the step-by-step process to link your Google Sheets account with your Zapier account, which is free to do and very, very simple. It's just a couple buttons. Link, which I've already done. So Google Sheets is linked. Next, you want to go and type in ChatGPT, hit enter. There we go. ChatGPT is what we want. And then we go ahead and connect, right? So once we connect here, again, we will use that API key that we have that I showed previously, and we're gonna use it here in this section. Okay, so go ahead and click the setup. It'll ask for the API key, copy and paste that over. It's that simple. So now, within literally seconds, Google Sheets is connected ChatGPT is connected, so they're both able to be connected together, and now you give Zapier instructions for how they should work together. And again, you can use so many different, you can have to where when you get a certain email, then the data from that email gets extracted and put into Google Sheets. And then once that happens, then you can send another email, whatever, Slack messages, so many different things. It's amazing, but we're focusing on Google Sheets and ChatGPT, which I think has maybe the most potential for a lot of businesses. The Gmail integration is also powerful. And if you want me to show you how to integrate Gmail with ChatGPT and Google Sheets, or one of the two of those, let me know in the comments and I'll consider making that. So, all right, so we've connected both, great. We're now here in the home page. What we wanna do is click on create and create a zap. So a zap is just an action. When X happens, then Y happens, right? Or when X is triggered, then Y happens. It's that simple. So we have trigger. So this happens, then this action takes place. Okay, it's that simple. Now, what I wanna do is show you a pre-built, fully created zap, which is right here, the description writer again, to give you a real world example and walk you through everything step by step. So again, you would just go ahead and click on create a new. You can use Zapier's Copilot and literally write in like, hey, like here's what I wanna do, what should I do? And it can automatically create it for you, which is a really cool idea. Right now, this is garbage. For lack of a better word, it is terrible. I've used this before, but I think it'll improve in the future. So what's really cool is you'll literally just type or speak to Zapier Copilot of like, hey, when this happens, then make this happen. And boom, it'll set everything up for you without even having to go through this process. You can try it. Let me know how it works for you. Right now, it's absolute garbage, but that's gonna change in the future. So until that changes and until it becomes even easier, here's what we have. So this is step one. So remember, we have starting with 2 steps. Starting with step 1, okay, here. Under setup, for the app, you're gonna choose, so when X happens, Y happens. So what is the X? What is the first thing? It's like, okay, for us, when our video editor updates and adds a description, like a general garbage, well, not garbage, sorry, I'm using that word a lot, updates a general description of a video in Google Sheets, that's the trigger, okay? So it's Google Sheets is the trigger. So Google Sheets, you want your existing, so when a new row is added or a row is updated, that's what we want to use here. There's other options here that's going to be the most kind of common here. So we select that. For account, I'll actually have to blur this out because there's some sensitive info here. For the account, you go ahead and click on change and you can choose from any of these existing accounts and also add new ones here. So if you haven't already connected Google Sheets, you can do so here at this point, but you need to make sure you do that. So we have Google Sheets as our trigger, that's the app. When a new row is added, right? When new text is typed into column A with our specific account. So that's the setup, pretty straightforward. Next, we go to configure. You have all the Google Sheets in your account. Select the specific Google Sheet that you want to use for this zap. So we want to select our specific spreadsheet, which in this case is our stock footage, status and naming, perfect. For our worksheet, select the specific worksheet. So again, this is the input. When this happens, then Y, but we're focusing on when this happens. So when this worksheet when this column in this worksheet, in this spreadsheet is added, then perform the action. So we have the trigger column. So again, going back here, what is our trigger column? That's column A, right? It's called video description. It's actually technically this over here. Without getting too much into detail, basically, this is where the data is updated, and then, this is where the data is added. And in the second tab, this is where the data is updated. It can be either one. So we'll say it's here in column A of the final video data tab, where actually in reality it's vid descriptions, but it's all good. So select the spreadsheet, the specific worksheet within that spreadsheet, so which tab, and then the trigger column, okay? And then we wanna go ahead and test. So any of these, it's just gonna randomly pull one to test to make sure everything's functioning correctly, that nothing's broken, which is really great. So you just go ahead and continue with selected record, and then it's gonna move you automatically to the next step because it'll test once everything's set up together. Because right now there's nothing to test. We just said, hey, when this happens, then X, Y, Z. And now we're getting to the second part of then do this. So when a new row is updated in this specific Google spreadsheet, now we're gonna take that data and import into ChatGPT. Here's how it's done. So again, same idea. Once this happens, boom, send this data to ChatGPT. So for the app, select ChatGPT. For action event, select conversation with assistant. As you can see, there's a ton. Conversation with assistant is what you want to choose because you want to take that data and send it to your assistant that you built. And then select your account, which again, I'll have to blur. But yeah, select your account, your action event, your app. Pretty straightforward. Hit continue. Now to configure, this is where you really want to pay attention. This is where the gold is. For your message, this is the automated message that will be sent to ChatGPT every single time. it should be very detailed, but try to keep it as short and detailed as possible. So the shorter it is, the more variance you're gonna get with your outputs, if that makes sense. For example, think about ChatGPT like a college student. If you tell your college student, hey, go post flyers around campus, like, go take these posters and then put them around campus. That student could go and they could put just a few of the posters into like the business college, and that's it. And they just put it, or just in the cafeteria. And then you're like, wait, I told you to put these around campus. Like, I did. I put them in the cafeteria. It's like, okay, take all posters and distribute them evenly to all colleges across campus, right? So number one was take these flyers, put them around campus. Description number two is much more detailed, right? Take all flyers, post them to all colleges around campus, make sure they're evenly distributed, go. In number one, the shorter it is, the more variance. It's gonna be, a bit scattered. And that's why so many people see terrible results from ChatGPT, is because of what's called prompting or prompt engineering. Prompt engineering is just the details that you give. Again, some of it's gonna come from testing. You create a description and you see the results back, and you might need to tweak with time. But the key is to be as detailed as possible without being overly repetitive and overly, detailed, because the longer this is, the more work ChatGPT has to do. So it needs to be kind of that balance. And for an example, you can literally see, right, quite lengthy, and I'm not gonna read through all of it for the sake of time, but you can kind of see all here. And you can pause the video to kind of look and read on your own. But I literally give it a step-by-step description of here's what to do step-by-step, here's what not to do, here's good examples, bad examples. And as you can see, it's quite lengthy from what you would think of just a short sentence. It's many, many paragraphs. And this is the sweet spot from what I found, but it gives all the important details that are needed to create amazing descriptions. So it's a little bit of work up front, but the more detailed you are and the more descriptive you are, the better the results are gonna be. And you do it one time and forever, it's done for you. That's the point here. So don't just think it takes me no time to set this up. It'll take some time, but it's gonna be unbelievably worth it. And every single time, this description is gonna be sent in. Anyway, here in the message section, this is where you wanna fill out your description. This is the message with ChatGPT. Treat it like it's a college student or even a high school student, okay? That's the way you wanna describe and talk to them and make sure nothing's missing. The good news is you can edit this at any time in the future. So if results aren't that great, you can tweak it a little bit, look at the results again, and so on until you get great results, right? That's the worst case scenario. Best case scenario is you hit it out of the ballpark on the first try. So that's your message. Also, really important that I want to add here that a lot of people don't know with the message, you can click this plus button, and with Google Sheets that you've already connected to Zapier, you can find data within that Google spreadsheet and import that into the message, okay? So in this case, I have this long message like do this, don't do this, X, Y, Z, and at the end, then I say, here are the video keywords, boom. So for example, I'll show you the real example here. So you can see it's Vlad's description. So stock video keywords, I'm gonna go to the plus sign. Here we go, Vlad's description, which again is here, right? This is actually where it's pulling the data. Again, I said here for simplicity of the data's here, but basically look at this function. This data is being pulled in this tab from tab 1. So tab 2 is pulling from tab 1, basically. It's the same thing, just simplifying. So basically, I'm sending a message. I have a long message, ChatGPT, do this, don't do this. Here's the data that you need. And that's really the key here is you're able to literally take the exact data from Google Sheets, and that's how you send it into ChatGPT. That's how it's automated. So you don't have to manually copy and paste over. It literally, Zapier takes it from Google Sheets, it takes that new row, puts it into the message, and then sends it off to ChatGPT. Okay, so this here, all the text stays the exact same every single time. But this changes because every time there's a new row, it takes that new row, sends it in. Takes the new row, sends it in, okay? So just know where is the data that you want to take and have analyzed or looked at by ChatGPT. Make sure you select that here. So you click plus. It can also be from multiple. You can select from multiple places. But I recommend keeping it a bit more simple. Try to focus on just one or two things. Otherwise, the more broad that you get, the more variance there's gonna be, the less quality the outputs are gonna be, right? So let me know if that makes sense. Again, just this plus sign, you can extract dynamic data from Google Sheets. That means it just changes every time. You don't have to rewrite things every time. For the assistant, we wanna select the correct assistant. So we're gonna do description creator, which I've already selected. So again, that's why you wanna set up assistants first. Is if you don't have any assistants, nothing's gonna show up here. So you wanna create first. You can leave all this other information blank. Now here for the model, again, same idea. You wanna select the most updated model ChatGPT has, which in this case is 4.0, which I know will be outdated within 3 days from now, which is totally fine. But if you're getting any error messages, like you're running data and there's error, too many tokens being used, or too much data being processing error, things like that, which can be a bit different. What you want to do is select the mini. So start with 4.0. If you get issues, select the mini. The quality of the outputs might be a little bit less, but it's still great. And it's just kind of the second best option. So that's why we had to do mini, because we were running into those issues. With our other Zaps, we didn't have those issues. It was just this one specifically because these descriptions are like 200 characters, 250 characters long. They're very, very long with a lot of data that you see here, right? A lot of text. So that's why we have to use the mini. Again, for tools, conversation, you can leave all of these blank. Now for existing files, again, what I recommend doing is if you want ChatGPT to look at any files, in this case, when we're creating descriptions for stock footage, I want ChatGPT to look at the good and bad examples. So we literally have somewhere in here, I think it's actually right here, good and bad examples of stock footage. We have a keyword checklist. Some of these are good and bad right here. They're just named differently in this case, but good, bad, and some keyword checklists. So if there's any data that you want ChatGPT to analyze with, basically it's like, hey, here's my message. That's number one. Here is my dynamic data from Google Sheets. That's number two. And then number three is any additional data. Like, is there any additional stuff like these files here of like good and bad examples, things like that? You can also add those here. You want to go to existing files, and then you can select your files here. You can also, load more. But again, you want to make sure these are uploaded to your assistant, and then it can just reference those files to make sure that your ChatGPT assistant reads those files. Is it necessary? No, it depends on your goals, but I want to show you everything. So it could just be a message. It can be messaged with that Google Sheets data, which is probably what you want to analyze that data, to respond to that data. And you can add those additional things here. Again, that's in existing files, not search step. It's right here, okay? And then we can continue over to test, click on continue, and then that leads us to our final step. So we have our Google Sheets data. We've sent that into ChatGPT. ChatGPT analyzes that data, and now it's gonna spit out for us a video description from our general, just ugly description. Is going to have an optimized, keyword optimized, professional, readable description in the right, sentence case, all of that. But now we want to take those descriptions that ChatGPT created and put them back into Google Sheets into separate rows. Now, from here, again, possibilities are endless. You can take data from Google Sheets, send it to ChatGPT, then create a draft email in Gmail for your team to review before sending out, or automatically send out an email, automatically reply to a comment, send a Slack message, and so many more things. But in this case, we're again focusing on Google Sheets. So we take the data from Google Sheets, clean it or analyze it with ChatGPT, and then update new kind of columns with Google Sheets again. So in this case, right, because we want to add more data to our existing Google Sheet, we enter data in column A, and then it updates column B, C, D, and E. Then we're gonna select Google Sheets. We're gonna click on Update Selected Rows, and then you wanna make sure the correct account is selected. All right, which should be default if you've already set it up originally. Then we hit Continue. Here in Configure, you wanna select your Google Drive. Again, select the specific spreadsheet, the specific worksheet. Again, if it's the same tab, it should be very similar to your step one here, the inputs, but make sure it's not identical because you don't want to override your existing data unless that's what you're looking for. But you usually want to create new data. Same Google Drive, same spreadsheet, same worksheet. Now here's the key. Okay, so what do you want to update in Google Sheets? Like with what? It's like, well, I want to update with that description that ChatGPT generated. That I want to take that description and I want to add that into our Google Sheets. So what you want to do is here for the description, you want to select full response. So I'll show you with the plus sign. Click on Conversation with Assistant. This is what you want right here. There's so many options that can be overwhelming. What you want to select is full response. Basically, whatever ChatGPT's response was, that's what you want to use. So use the full response. Now, in some cases, obviously this may not be what you want, but in most cases, that's what it is. So choose what you need for your goals, but likely this is what's going to be, right? The response that ChatGPT generated in step 2, that's what we want. So go ahead and add that. And then here for row number, what I recommend doing is selecting row ID. So what you can do here, just to hit plus, let me just do this, hit plus, okay? Because again, we're not updating ChatGPT, we're updating Google Sheets. And then you want to select row ID, okay? So row number, row ID, hit continue. You can look at your data in and do data out. If this is your first time, you can go ahead and click on retest step. I've already had this up and running, so doing that won't really do anything. But go ahead and if it's your first time, click on test step, which is what the text will say. And then what it'll do is basically show you what you want to look at is data in. So it shows you here the data in, and then you want to look at data out and look at the updated row. So it shows you the updated row in column A. And yeah, it shows you data in, data out, and you want to make sure that that looks good. If there's anything off or weird, then what I recommend doing is going back to step 2, going here to configure, and in the message, change your message, maybe make sure you're uploading the correct data here and the plus sign to add anything you want to add in that message, either deleting or making sure the correct files are chosen, right? And then go back here to test and then retest that step. So you can see the data in and the data out. Once everything looks good, you can go ahead and click publish. In this case, I'm just gonna have V2. In your case, it might be V1, hit publish. In literally seconds, the Zap is now live. And what you really wanna do, the most important step, is to see this live in action before you roll this out. Now, to test, remember, with this specific Zap that we've created, when we input new data into column A, with the specific Zap I created, it will update column D, the description, right, which we already saw, and I can show you again here. So in the row description row, put in the full response, and then just select this for row ID, even though it's not 17, it's just how Zapier is gonna pick this up. So with that being said, also keep in mind that I've duplicated, so you can actually, any Zap that you create, go and you can actually duplicate and then slightly edit if you wanna have very similar tasks. So instead of creating everything from scratch, you can duplicate and then just slightly tweak, duplicate and then choose a different ChatGPT assistant, change the description a little bit, all things like that. A lot of overlap, saves a lot of time. So anyway, keep in mind that I have a Zap for the description column, for the file name column, for the keyword generator column, and the title. So 4 columns. So what that means is, because I have these 4 Zaps, so 1, 2, 3, 4, instead of having them all in one, when I enter data here, these should update. So let's go ahead and see this in action. So I'm gonna go here to this general drone video description of a particular footage. And I just wanna make sure everything's set up correctly. So I go back to my spreadsheet. This should be blank, just ignore it. I'm gonna Command V to paste that data from Google Docs, that general description, enter it in here. Now, this is not an instantaneous process. It takes a little bit of time. I find like a few minutes in general for Zapier to communicate with ChatGPT, for ChatGPT to function and then send back. So it's not as quick as directly manually using ChatGPT, so keep that in mind. There is a bit of a delay, but it's usually within a few minutes, depending on the level of total text and data being transferred. The shorter, simpler tasks, like you enter in, let's say, a video description, and then go to your Google Sheets and say, hey, ChatGPT, come up with, read this Google Doc or use these very general guidelines and come up with 5 of the most viral hooks that we can use for this video idea. And something a little bit more simple like that is gonna be a bit faster, but this will take a second. So I'll just let this load for a minute and we're gonna see the results, firsthand. And as you can see, in less than 3 minutes from our general video description, we now have a full optimized file name, title, description, and keyword list that usually would take, many minutes per video, and especially with over 400 would take hours, done in literally seconds. And this is especially great when you upload a lot at one time and have them all kind of automated. You don't have to do this one by one. These can all be kind of updated here. And I hope this just begins to scratch the surface of what's possible with ChatGPT, Zapier, Google Sheets, and other apps. And if you have recommendations for a video that you would like to see made, let me know in the comments. If we get enough comments on that, I'll make a video for you. And if you really want to master copywriting with ChatGPT and AI, which means creating phenomenal social media captions, entire search engine optimized blog posts, YouTube video scripts, lecture scripts, cold emails, sales scripts, so much more, then be sure to check out our full in-depth step-by-step AI copywriting secrets course on Udemy, which you can access for as little as $10 US. It's not 100, not 1,000, $10 US. It'll walk you through the entire copywriting process to not just elevate your writing and make you more persuasive, but also make you more confident in speaking with everybody around you, including with your business. So copywriting, as well as using and integrating ChatGPT and AI with your copywriting to bring it to a whole other level in the fraction of the time. So be sure to check that out. Link will be in the description section below with everything else. And I hope you found this video valuable because it hopefully saved you hours and hours of frustration and time like it did for me, figuring out how to integrate Google Sheets with ChatGPT. So if you liked the video, consider giving a thumbs up and subscribing for more valuable weekly online business content. And regardless, as always, thank you so much for watching. God bless you and your endeavors, and look forward to seeing you in the next one.